what used to be the International Council of Ethnodoxologists was performed to provide connections and certification and a clearinghouse for all of these growing numbers of people that were interested in doing arts and mission. Kind of our phrase was to encourage and equip. We used to be ICE, and there was kind of a music-centric focus, as you can see there. But eventually that gave way to a new logo, actually designed by the gentleman serving as moderator to this session, James Harris, my son. He did a good job, I think, on the logo. You know, our membership is quite global. This was, there was a conference in 2010, and the Gen members stayed on after the conference to kind of hang out afterwards, and this was the people that showed up. This was at the Global Consultation on Music and Missions. We started out in 2003 with 60 charter members. Paul Neely, if you are still here online, I would just give a shout out to you. Paul was a co-founder along with me in 2003, and it's been a great support throughout this time. By 2006, we had 150 members from 50 countries. In 2011, 220 members from 70 countries, and at the current time, we figure we have right around 350 members from more than 80 countries. We're still compiling those countries. So we are very international. We have about 1/3 of our members get to have a free membership in ICE because of what they offer as international scholars. And so we're very excited about that global aspect of our membership. We have 2 books, Ethnodoxology Handbook and the Creating Local Arts Together Field Manual. Those are available on our site. We talked about those last time, so I'll just skip through quickly. The Global Forum on Arts and Christian Faith is our peer-reviewed journal. And you can see the URL there. It's free to sign up for the journal, and we are really, really urgently requesting articles. So please feel free to submit your articles on anything having to do with arts and Christian faith to that journal. Also at the site, at the worldofworship.org site, our main website, you can click on Learn More, and resources like the Orality Journal are also available there for free. I thought I'll bring up once more this list of agencies that have ethnodoxologists working in them. That's quite a few agencies. If your missions logo isn't there, we would love for you to fix that problem. So, and our 2 short courses, 2 intensive courses that you can bring these courses to your campus at any time that is convenient for you and works out for the profs. This first course, Intro to Ethnodoxology, focuses mostly on ethnodoxology principles for people who plan to stay in the U.S. and be involved in church-based or missional work in their communities there. This course, and there is Dr. Jill Ford's gorgeous campus. All Nations Christian College is one of our stable venues for Arts for a Better Future, along with our campus, Dallas International University. So we love this course, Arts for a Better Future. You can go to the website, artsforabetterfuture.org, to see all of the venues. There are many. We've trained over 850 people from over 70 countries in this course alone. So it really teaches you what to do next when you land on the field. So over the last several years, as an acronym ICE, or ICE, gathered new connotations because of the U.S. Agency Immigration and Customs Enforcement, we began to feel that a name change was in order. So we consulted with our international members, and the result generated a new name, the Global Ethnodoxology Network. And so we're pleased with the new name. The need for value statements came up because the network is now 17 years old, and definitions and approaches to ethnodoxology have proliferated and are changing all the time. So we wanted to capture the values that are emerging across this global network and to invite reflection on how we contextualize those values for diverse settings. So the statement we're going to present to you now was written by Brian Schrag out of some board discussions that we had. And we consider this version an initial statement for gathering responses. And we're hoping that you will respond with your ideas and your suggestions. We're going to bring it to the Gen board right after the EMS conference and consider adapting it. So, James, over to you. 6 core values.
So for those of you who were here for the last one, we have identified these 6 core values: Christian worship, academic rigor, historical awareness, human agency, locally grounded methods, and confident hope. And we looked at the first 3 of those in the last session, and in this session we want to look at human agency, locally grounded methods, and confident hope. So human agency, a short version of what we're driving at here, is that Jen respects the right and capacity of every individual and all communities to shape their own artistic realities. Artistic products are made, appreciated, and given value by people. We endeavor to encourage the diversity of human artistic ingenuity locally and wheresoever these arts are exported. We acknowledge, honor, celebrate, and value the unique artistic creations and contributions of individuals and communities. Therefore, we cultivate these gifts, both in our own communities and in those we endeavor to encourage and collaborate with, so that they can continue to explore their unique identities and giftings with the dynamic arts that are the heart of the people as individuals and in community. I think that's the last one, right?
Yep.
That one. I just referenced when I introduced myself the first session as having had the unbelievable privilege of being invited into a community in West Africa where a church, which at that time was about 70 or 80 years old, had only ever been singing the music that they themselves had composed. And that sounds almost unbelievable when you think of Christian history. But the short version of that is that they were evangelized at the turn of the 20th century by a Liberian, an African, who had the insight to know that as a traveling evangelist, there would not be a long future in him teaching the new converts a few of his favorite Western hymns. That if he were to do that, they would still be singing those hymns today, and that may be all that they're singing. And instead, he asked them the crucial ethnodoxological question, and that is, what are you singing now? And that question produced a response that among the Dita people that we lived with, for example, there were 40 categories of music. And he helped them discern which of those might be candidates for transformation into the worship of the church. Now, that's human agency. That's starting with what God has already given a culture and encouraging it and setting it up in such a way that there is an endless amount of production, creativity and production that grows out of what people already hold in their hands. That is the kind of thing that we want to encourage when we say human agency.
Thank you, James. That's so important to us. And actually related to human agency is this one, number 5, locally grounded methods. Jen favors methods that amplify local agency and creativity. So it's just a little bit of a different take on the idea of agency. Given our emphasis on individual and community agency, we choose participatory methods like appreciative inquiry and ethnographic research and sparking creativity. So the picture is actually from a participatory methods workshop that a few of us ran in Kenya. And we just really believe in these participatory methods approaches. They come out of the field of development. These are approaches that encourage more voices into the planning and implementation and evaluation of development work. So these methods have become a large part of what ethnodoxologists do. So we are not doing arts engagement for communities, we are doing it with them. So participatory methods include a range of activities with a common thread, enabling ordinary people to play an active and influential part in decisions which affect their lives. So those are important to us. We also take local categories and practices of artistry as primary, beginning our analyses with what people do before drawing on external categories like music, dance, visual arts, drama, these kind of Western art. It's the way Western minds kind of divide up the arts. But many forms of artistry combine aspects of more than one category. My own dissertation was on a Siberian epic tradition that drew its communicative power from poetry, music, epic stories, all of that expressed in an improvised one-person performance over many nights during the dark, cold Siberian winters. This is actually a picture of one of those performances of that epic song from my research. If I were to have engaged with only the musical aspects, just called it, oh, this is a song, then I would have missed most of the power of this genre. I saw this principle illustrated in my own research, but it's really been confirmed by a lot of others who have researched in the field. Local arts, well, I'll just read here. It says, this affirms the communicative, motivational, and identity-strengthening power of locally created expressive arts. So this is a picture of, again, my Siberian friends, brothers and sisters, celebrating a baptism with Ohokai, their unique round dance, improvised oral poetry genre that they have. We're convinced that locally grounded methods of drawing out these arts are the most appropriate. The last statement is, we thus encourage a development of wide variety of arts in the worshiping life of the church, acknowledging the importance of local decision-making in the choice of art forms. This is really important to us. In our work with communities, we encourage the process of critical biblical contextualization, with decisions about which forms to use left in the hands of spirit-filled believers. We, as ethnodoxologists, have an important role in leading those conversations and encouraging people to, explore the wide variety of artistic forms that they have in their communities. But we affirm local agency in deciding who's going to choose which arts they use in the worshiping life and the witness of their church. So those are important to us. In short, we embrace the find it, encourage it model of arts engagement rather than a bring it, teach it model. We acknowledge that, of course, these approaches are on a continuum, and some good things have happened over the years during all three versions of, wherever you are on the continuum. But this ethnodoxologist really embraced the find it, encourage it method. Okay, James, back to you for the last one, confident hope.
So confident hope, we actually talked about this for a while, partly because the word hope in English can often, maybe more often than not, mean a wish. It's something you hoped for, you wished for, but you're not at all certain that it will materialize and happen. the scriptural understanding of hope is not just a wish list. It's the firm belief, the confident belief that what God is doing, God will bring to fruition and completion. So this isn't just a theological term. It's actually a much broader term for the confidence and positivity of our approach of saying God has created a beautiful world with many, many features, and that communities embody both life-enhancing and destructive characteristics. Ethnodoxologists nurture spaces where people can imagine and plan for better lives unique to themselves. Kinds of better include having more justice, health, artistic diversity, love, well-being, creativity, vibrant churches, vital spiritual formation, awe-inspiring experiences of adoring God, and so on. So we're working with a really broad definition of better, of biblical kingdom values that span a wide spectrum of hopeful activities in a community. Brian Schrag this morning in his presentation said there is almost nothing that happens in the community that he worked in the Cameroon that is not accompanied by the arts. So that is both a global picture of what's going on in a community, but also a global view of the arts that says arts can accompany all of the activities of a community. We also heard in the opening plenary session from our Nigerian brother that the evangelical church has not always done very well holistically. They focused primarily on a narrow picture of what it means to bring hope to a community, but in some ways we need to redefine that more broadly. So we're working out of a shalom definition that is really a broad definition, and wanting to encourage the welfare of our cities and the welfare of our communities, as Jeremiah says. Some final summary thoughts might just be these: that the world is a-changin', that the West to the rest is rapidly disappearing. I'm sure we're going to hear about that from Todd Johnson. We are beginning to understand that God has given to all cultures all they need in music and the arts for the life, worship, and ministry of the church. So it doesn't mean we can't dip into other traditions and cultures, but God has gifted communities with what they need. This picture from the 1870s described how during the historical period of the 19th century, what is sometimes referred to as the Great Century of Mission, and it was, but it came with a particular focus. And the focus here is actually, in this case, the white man with an academic garb on, holding a Bible, and all the peoples of the world gathering around him and offering gifts and their culture. But he is sort of at the center of the picture. We live in a different era as the global church now expands to 65 to 70% of the world, of the church in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So these are things that invite us to change and ask new kinds of questions. So it's out of all that we've developed these 6 values: Christian worship, academic rigor, historical awareness, human agency, locally grounded methods, and a broad, confident hope in embracing holistic visions of better futures in communities.